Earlier this month, Nigerian Vice President Yemi Osinbajo criticized the central bank governor for what he called an artificially low exchange rate. Osinbajo went on to say he was convinced that the demand management strategy currently being adopted by the CBN needs a rethink. On the sidelines of the recently concluded Nigeria International Partnership Forum in Paris, Arise correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya sat down with the governor of Nigeria's central bank, Godwin Emefiele, for an interview, part of which including his response to accusations from the vice president of poor collaboration between Nigeria's fiscal and monetary authorities. Let's take a listen to that portion of the conversation.
You're well aware of the recent comments from the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, and concerns he may have had. Can you give us a bit more of an insight into how the Monetary Policy Committee are working with, or if they're working well with the fiscal policy? How does that relationship look like? How is that working?
Well, and I'm sure if you ask the finance minister, or you ask, finance minister, that we, I will use the word, we're always in contact with, she would tell you that there are no issues about the relationship between the monetary and fiscal authorities. And when people come up and say, oh, there is no synergy, again, I wonder where that is coming from. However, let me say this. When COVID hit, Mr. President tasked the finance minister and I to work together to bring out some immediate response. And I went back to the banking community, to the bankers committee, and we came up with immediate response. And the Minister of Finance and I had opportunity several times to go back to brief the president. So it's left for you to respond whether there is collaboration between monetary and fiscal authorities there. Second, after that, the president said that we should establish the Economic Sustainability Program group chaired by the vice president. The central bank played an active part in the development of that program, to the extent that the fiscal authorities were only meant to contribute 500 billion, and the monetary authorities were left to provide almost about 1.5 trillion naira. Please let me correct this, not as grants, but as loans to support people who were impacted by COVID-19 so they can get their business back. And I can tell you this, in 2020 alone, between 2020 and now, our data shows that we have disbursed close to at least 2 trillion naira, almost 3 trillion naira in loans to households, to micro, small and medium enterprises, to our smallholder farmers, to our pharmaceuticals and health institutions, to some of our large agricultural companies that want to get back again onto business, to manufacturing companies who are accessing long-term 10 years loan with 2 years moratorium at single-digit rate. So when I have the data that shows that we are playing our part from the monetary side to support the program of government under the ESP. But if what people expect is that the central bank or monetary authority should hand the money over and give it to the fiscal, unfortunately, that is not the way it works. It's meant to be a loan, right? It's not meant to be delivered to any particular group in the fiscal to begin to share. It is meant to be a loan, and let's not forget, it was also an ingenuity on the part of central bank that we are saying that these are funds that are sequestered. This is not central bank money. This is not federal government money. These are funds sequestered from the cash reserve deposit of banks, which had to also go back through the banks to those that were lending monies to at 5% for 10 years with 2 years moratorium. So I think we're playing our part.
When you say you think you're playing your part, that means that perhaps you think that the fiscal authorities aren't playing theirs?
I have not said so. I said the Economic Sustainability Program came up and said the fiscal will provide 500 billion. But monetary will fund close to about 1.5 trillion. And I have said that data shows that we've done over 2 trillion. That's what I mean, that we have played our part. Our job is to complement, right? And I believe we're doing some good job. And that is why at every opportunity when we hold our monetary policy committee meetings, we've always taken the pain to read out what we have done to complement the efforts of the fiscal. And the data is there. And as long as I'm governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, we will continue to make this data available to Nigerians. But I'm saying, and I repeat myself, honestly, in my entire career as a banker, I have never seen where banks, whether they are compelled or through moral suasion, where they would lend 10-year money with 2 years moratorium at single-digit interest rates. I have never seen it. And I'm just praying, even after I've left CBN, that this will continue.
Let us talk about the 100 for 100 program, that policy. What does it seek to do, and how is that supposed to work? I know it would have just been in its early stages, but talk to us more about what that program seeks to do.
Again, the 100 for 100 program is another program that came up out of the need to say that we must support, we must do everything to create employment for our people, right? And that's why if you read that, the framework, we said employment must be, we must see measurable level of employment that will be provided by that project. There have to be new projects. There have to be projects where even the central bank will do everything possible to provide foreign exchange to import plants and machinery. And there have to be projects where by the time the plant or machineries are set up, raw material content, import content of raw material will be near zero, right? So that we can begin to look at, we can begin to turn our eyes at our own available local raw materials rather than importing them. So as long as we find them, so those are some of the issues around that we felt it is meant again to complement what Mr. President said, that we had to create 10 million jobs in 10 years. That is something that we are saying we need to work towards. And it will help to reduce the level of unemployment. It will make credit available at cheap rates, and it will make credit available for a long tenure.
You also mentioned that in terms of the prerequisites, at least 80% of the employees within these new companies, entities would have to be Nigerian. Again, what is the central bank going to do to make sure that these companies actually meet those requirements and not just, I guess, come towards you with their hands open and then go ahead and turn their backs around on those promises once they've gotten the support that they're looking for?
We know that people would like to play some games about it. But I can assure you that central bank has the resources to monitor. Even our current intervention programs, whether in agriculture or in manufacturing, those people who have accessed those facilities will tell you that at least twice a year, our people go to check, to investigate, to conduct some kind of investigation to know whether those projects are being set up, whether they are meeting the objectives. So I don't want to say that that we will not have a few misses, but I can assure you they will be monitored, and that is the reason. We're very clear again. We said we will advertise. We will advertise it, we will scrutinize it, we will monitor it so that Nigerians truly know. So that if, for instance, you took money, right, and it's not within the objective, Nigerians who are going to read your name on the page of the newspaper will say, no, this man didn't do the right thing. Those are some of the, what I call self-censorship programs that have to be put in place, because we need to truly be very truthful and honest, adopt the best level of governance in programs like this that is meant to create jobs, reduce unemployment, and indeed help to even reduce the level of insecurity in our country. We don't have a choice. We owe our people that. God has put us in a position, right? It is providence that is cast on us to fend for the people, to provide, to put in place policies that will improve the lives of our people. And I dare say, we as leaders don't have a choice. We must do what is expected of us.
If we take a few steps back to our conversation about foreign reserves, these directives came from you when it comes to accessing foreign currency. There's certain prerequisites people need to meet if they're traveling for personal or business travel, if they want to pay educational school fees abroad. If we look at that school fees abroad issue, it was very clear that they had to be tertiary institutions only. But then that, of course, leaves some people behind. There are parents in Nigeria who send their children abroad for secondary school. And because of that, they don't meet that requirement that you've set. What happens to them and their desires to access foreign reserves for their own families?
Adefemi, let me tell you this. Again, I go back to what I said about what Nigeria was. Nigeria's education was. When I was born in Nigeria. I went to primary school in Nigeria. I did my secondary school in Nigeria, my university in Nigeria. Indeed, people were coming from other parts of the world to attend universities in Nigeria. What has happened? That we will now begin to think about our children going to school, secondary school abroad. I think, if I'm sorry to put it, I can't, this is not about a popularity contest. It's about the fact that if you can afford it, good for you. But I wish I had the opportunity. I think what we should be doing is to improve our educational standards, our educational institutions, so that people can go to secondary school in Nigeria. And when we begin to achieve that, right, then I will begin to think that Nigeria is coming back to the Nigeria of my birth. I am sorry, I may not have answered your question the way you want it, but this is the truth.
We started this conversation with you highlighting your successes, the moments that you're proud of. As human beings, there are failures that we all experience, and I want to ask you what yours are and how you feel you've been able to overcome them, if at all.
Well, as human beings, you make mistakes, but I think what is important is that you learn from those mistakes and move on, right? And I believe that there are a couple of mistakes that have been made. The fact that we learn from those mistakes and are ready to move on, for me, I think it's something that is good. Okay, and based on that, I'd like to say that for the remaining part of the 2 years, we will try to make sure that those mistakes don't happen again. But I think what is important is that the remaining 2.5 years that we have on this job, that we'll make the best of it. We'll deliver the best to Nigeria and to Nigerians. We'll make sure that our programs that we want to focus on infrastructure, on Infraco, or the Nigerian International Financial Center, are projects that are legacy projects that by the time we sit back after we have left this job and we see it doing well, we say, thank God we had an opportunity to serve our country.
When we cast our minds forward 2 years towards the end of your time in this job, what is the Nigeria you want to leave behind? We've spoken so much during this conversation about your historical affinity to Nigeria and how it was in your childhood and how, unfortunately, that hasn't continued to be the case throughout your life. With this job coming to an end for you in the next 2 years, if we were to look, I don't want it to be too utopian or to look at it as a paradise, but what is the Nigeria you want to have left behind?
I just dream again about Nigeria of my youth, my Nigeria of my childhood, what it was then, what it is now. And I'm praying that with whatever we would have done while in office, that if Nigeria could just return or move close to what we were during our birth or our childhood, then I can sit back and say, thank God that we left something for our children. My own 19-year-old son, all he sees is what Nigeria is today. He didn't see Nigeria when of my birth. And that's why I would be happy By the time I leave office and we are handing over to the next generation, Nigeria can look like those Nigeria of our birth and of our youth.
Creative industries, manufacturing, agriculture. Where do you think Nigeria's greatest moneymaker will be? Where do you think, what sector do you think that will come from?
Listen, Nigeria is a country with immense opportunities. Is it in the creative industry? Is it in the agriculture? Is it in the manufacturing? Nigeria is a leader. Is it in tech? Do you understand? It's a country with immense opportunities. So I do not want to just mention one particular sector, given the fact that, population is growing. We have a lot to give to our people. All I can say is that it is time for Nigeria to stop relying on a country or economy dependent on oil. We must diversify the economy into the non-oil sectors of our economy. We must deepen our economy so that we can truly position ourselves as a country that is self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency has to do with what we talk about in economics of import substitution industrialization. Produce to feed yourself. Then you begin to talk about produce, feed yourself, and then export. That would be a country that I dream about. And I pray that this happens in our lifetime.